Ai is destroyed. The Lord said to Joshua, "Do not be afraid. Take all the men of war with you and go up to Ai. See, I have given the king of Ai into your hand, his people, his city, and his land. Do the same to Ai and its king as you did to Jericho and its king. Take only its riches and its cattle for yourselves. Hide men behind the city to fight against it." So Joshua and all the men of war got ready to go to Ai. Excuse my pronunciation. Joshua chose 30,000 strong soldiers and sent them out during the night. He told them, "See, you are going to fight the city from behind it. Do not go very far from the city, but all of you be ready. I and all the people will come near the city. When they come out to meet us as they did before, we will come run from them. They will come out after us until we have taken them away from the city, for they will say they are running from us as they did before, so we will run from them. Then you will come out of your hiding place and take the city. The Lord will give it to you when you have taken the city. Set it on fire. Do what the Lord says. See, I have told you." When Joshua sent them away, they went to the hiding place. They waited between Bethel and Ai, and on the west side of Ai. But Joshua stayed that night among the people. Joshua got up early in the morning and gathered the people. Then he went up with the leaders of Israel in front of the people to Ai. All the men of war who were with him went up and came to the front of the city. They stayed on the north side of Ai. There was a valley between him and Ai. They took about 5,000 men and hid them between Bethel and Ai on the west side of the city. So they put the men in their places. There was the army on the north side of the city, and the secret army on the west side of the city. But Joshua stayed that night in the center of the valley. The king of Ai saw this, so the men of the city were quick to get up early and go out to meet Israel in battle at the chosen place near the desert plain. But he did not know that there was an army hiding behind the city. Joshua and all Israel pretended to be beaten in front of them, and they ran away into the desert. All the people in the city were called together to go after them. They went after Joshua and were taken away from the city. So not a man was left in Ai or Bethel who had not gone out after Israel. They left the city open and ran after Israel. Then the Lord said to Joshua, "Hold out the spear that is in your hand toward Ai, for I will give the city to you." So Joshua held out the spear that was in the hand toward the city. The men who were hiding got up in a hurry from their place and ran. When he held out his hand, they went into the city and took it and were quick to set it on fire. When the men of Ai looked back, they saw the smoke of the city going up to the sky. They had no place to run. Then the people of Israel who had been running away in the desert turned against those who went after them. Joshua and all Israel saw that the men who had been hiding had taken the city. They saw the smoke from the city, so they turned around and killed the men of Ai. The others came out from the city to meet them. The men of Ai were caught in the center of Israel. There were some on one side and some on the other side. They killed until no one was left alive. No one got away, but they took the king of Ai alive, who brought him to Joshua. Israel killed all the men of Ai in the field and in the desert where they had run after them. All of them were killed with the sword until they were destroyed. Then all Israel returned to Ai and destroyed it with the sword. All the men and women of Ai died that day. 12,000 in all. Joshua did not put down his hand. He used to hold out the spear until he had destroyed all the people of Ai. Israel took only the cattle and the riches of the city for themselves, as the Lord had told Joshua. So Joshua burned Ai and destroyed it forever, as it is to this day. He hanged the king of Ai on a tree until evening. When the sun went down, Joshua had them take the body down from the tree and throw it down at the gate of the city. They put many stones over it, and they are there to this day. The agreement is read on Mount Ebal. Then Joshua built an altar to the Lord, the God of Israel, at Mount Ebal. It was built just as the Lord's servant Moses had told the people of Israel, as it is written in the book of the law of Moses. It was an altar made of stones which had not been cut. No one had used an iron object on them. On the altar they gave burnt gifts in worship to the Lord. And there they gave peace gifts in worship. There Joshua wrote on the stones the law of Moses in front of the people of Israel. All Israel stood on both sides of the special box in front of the Levite religious leaders who carried the special box of the agreement of the Lord. Strangers stood there as well as those born among the people with their leaders and heads and men who judged between what is right and wrong. Half of them stood in front of Mount Gerizim. The other half stood in front of Mount Ebal. They did just as the Lord's servant Moses had told them before. They prayed for good to come to the people of Israel. After this, Joshua read all the words of the law, the good and the bad that will happen. He read all that is written in the book of the law. There was not a word of all that Moses had said which Joshua did not read. He read it in front of all the people of Israel, with the women and the children and the strangers who were living among them. The Gibeonites lied to Joshua. The kings west of the Jordan in the hill country, in the valleys, and beside the great sea toward Lebanon, all heard what had happened. These kings were of the Hittites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. They gathered together as one to fight against Joshua and Israel. The people of Gibeon heard what Joshua had done to Jericho and Ai. So they went out to fool him as men from another land. They took old bags on their donkeys and skin bags of wine that were old and torn and mended. They were old and mended shoes on their feet, and old clothes on themselves. All their bread, all their bread was dry and broken. They went to Joshua among the tents at Gilgal, and they said to him and the men of Israel, "We have come from a far country. Now make an agreement with us." The men of Israel said to the Hivites, "It may be that you are living within our land. How then can we make an agreement with you?" But they said to Joshua, "We are your servants." Then Joshua said to them, "Who are you? Where do you come from?" They said to him, "Your servants have come from a very far country because of the name of the Lord your God. For we have heard about him and all he did in Egypt. We heard what he did to the 2 kings of the Amorites east of the Jordan, to Sihon king of Heshbon, and to Og king of Bashan, who was at Ashtaroth. So our leaders and all the people of the country said to us, 'Take what you need for traveling. Go to meet them and tell them, we are your servants. Now make an agreement with us.' Our bread was warm when we took it along with what we needed for our houses on the day we left to come to you. But now, look, it is dry and broken. These skin bags that were filled with wine were new. Now look, they are torn, and our clothes and shoes have become old because of the very long way we had to travel. So the men of Israel took some of their food. They did not ask the Lord what they should do. Joshua made peace with them and made an agreement with them to let them live. And the leaders of the people made a promise to them. But 3 days after they had made an agreement with them, they heard that they were neighbors who lived in their land. Then the people of Israel left that place, and came to their cities on the third day. Their cities were Gibeon, Shephirah, Beeroth, and Kiriatha Yearim. Excuse my pronunciation, guys. But the people of Israel did not kill them because of the leaders of the people had made a promise to them by the Lord, the God of Israel. All the people complained against the leaders. Then all the leaders said to all the people, "We have made a promise to them by the Lord, the God of Israel. Now we cannot touch them. This is what we will do to them. We will let them live, or anger would be upon us for the promise we swore to them." And the leaders said to them, "Let them live." So they cut wood and brought water for all the people as the leaders had told them. Joshua called them and said, "Why have you lied to us, saying, We are very far from you?" Let's see. And the leaders said to them, "Let them live." So they cut wood and brought water for all the people as the leaders had told them. Joshua called them and said, "Why have you lied to us, saying, We are very far from you, when you are living within our land? Now you are cursed. You will never stop being servants, cutting wood and bringing water for the house of my God." They answered Joshua, "Because it was told to your servants that the Lord your God had told his servant Moses to give you all the land and kill all the people of the land in front of you. We were very much afraid for our lives because of you. That is why we have done this thing. Now see, we are in your hands. Do to us whatever you think is good and right in your eyes." So he did this to them. He saved them from the hands of the people of Israel. They did not kill them, but on that day Joshua made them cut wood and bring water for the people of Israel and for the altar of the Lord at whatever place he chooses. That was to be their work. To this day. The sun stands still. Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem, heard that Joshua had taken Ai and destroyed it. Joshua had done the same thing to Ai and its king that he had done to Jericho and its king. Adonizedek heard that the people of Gibeon had made peace with Israel and were among them. He was very much afraid because Gibeon was a large city, like one of the cities of a king. It was larger than Ai. All its men were strong. So Adonizedek of Jerusalem sent word to Hoham, king of Hebron, Piram, king of Jarmuth, Japhia, king of Lachish, and Debir, king of Eglon. He said to them, "Come and help me. Let us go fight against Gibeon, for it has made peace with Joshua and the people of Israel." So the 5 kings of the Amorites, the kings of Jerusalem, Hebron, Jarmuth, Lachish, and Eglon gathered together with all their armies, and they went and set up their tents by Gibeon to fight against it. Then the men of Gibeon sent word to Joshua at the tents at Gilgal, saying, "Do not leave your servants alone. Hurry and help us. For all the kings of the Amorites who live in the hill country have gathered against us." So Joshua went up from Gilgal. He took with him all the men of war and all strong soldiers. The Lord said to Joshua, "Do not be afraid of them, for I have given them into your hands. Not one of them will stand in front of you. Hurry and help us, for all the kings of the Amorites who live in the hill country have gathered against us." So Joshua went up from Gilgal. He took with him all the men of war and all the strong soldiers. The Lord said to Joshua, "Do not be afraid of them, for I have given them into your hands. Not one of them will stand in front of you." So Joshua came upon them by surprise by traveling all night from Gilgal. The Lord brought trouble upon the Amorites in front of Israel. He killed many of them at Gibeon and went after them on the way up to Beth Horon. He killed them as far as Azekah and Makkedah. They ran from Israel, and while they ran from Beth Horon, the Lord made large hailstones fall from heaven on them as far as Azekah, and they died. More died from the hailstones than the sons of Israel killed with the sword. More died from the hailstones than the sons of Israel killed with the sword. Then Joshua spoke to the Lord on the day when the Lord made the Amorites lose the war against the sons of Israel. He said, "In the eyes of Israel, O sun, stand still at Gibeon. O moon, stand still in the valley of Aijalon." So the sun stood still and the moon stopped until the nation punished those who fought against them. Is it not written in the book of Jasher? The sun stopped in the center of the sky. It did not hurry to go down for about a whole day. Wow. There has been no day like it before or since, when the Lord listened to the voice of a man, for the Lord fought for Israel. Then Joshua and all Israel returned to the tents at Gilgal. 5 Amorite kings are found and killed. Now these 5 kings had run away and hidden themselves in the cave of Makkedah. Joshua was told the 5 kings have been found hiding in the cave at Makkedah. And Joshua said, "Roll large stones against the opening of the cave. Then put men there to watch over them, but do not stay there yourselves. Go after those who hate you. Follow after them and fight. Do not let them go into their cities, for the Lord your God has given them into your hand." Joshua and the sons of Israel finished killing many of them until they were destroyed. Those who were left alive went into their strong cities. Then all the people returned to Joshua at the tent of Makkedah in peace. No one said a word against any of the people of Israel. And then Joshua said, Open the mouth of the cave and bring those 5 kings out to me." The 5 kings were brought to him from the cave: the king of Jerusalem, Hebron, Jarmuth, Lachish, and Eglon. When they brought those kings out to Joshua, he called for all the men of Israel. He said to the leaders of the men of war who had gone with him, "Come near, put your feet on the necks of these kings." So they came and put their feet on their necks. Then Joshua said to them, "Do not be afraid or troubled. Be strong and have strength of heart, for the Lord will do this to all who hate you and fight against you." After this, Joshua killed the kings. He hanged them on 5 trees, and they hung on the trees until evening. When the sun went down, Joshua had them taken down from the trees and thrown into the cave where they had hidden. Large stones were put over the opening of the cave, and they are there to this day. Joshua takes more Amorite land. Joshua took Makkedah on that day. He destroyed it and its king with the sword. He destroyed all of it and every person in it. No one was left alive. He did the same to the king of Makkedah as he had done to the king of Jericho. Then Joshua and all Israel went from Makkedah to fight against Libnah. The Lord gave it and its king into the hands of Israel also. Joshua destroyed it and every person in it with the sword. He left no one alive. So he did the same to its king as he had done to the king of Jericho. Joshua and all Israel went from Libnah to Lachish. They stayed beside it and fought against it. And the Lord gave Lachish into the hands of Israel. Joshua took it on the 2nd day. He destroyed it and every person in it with the sword, just as he had done to Libnah. Hiram, king of Gezer, came to help Lachish, but Joshua won the battle against him and his people. He left no one alive. Joshua and all Israel went from Lachish to Eglon. They stayed beside it and fought against it, and they took it on that day and destroyed it with the sword. He destroyed every person who was in it that day, just as he had done to Lachish. Joshua and all Israel went from Eglon to Hebron, and they fought against it. They took it and destroyed it. They destroyed its king, all its cities, and all who were in it with the sword. He left no one alive, just as he had done to Eglon. He destroyed all of it and every person in it. Then Joshua and all Israel returned to Debir, and they fought against it. He took it, its king, and all its cities. He destroyed them with the sword. Every person in it was destroyed. No one was left alive. He did the same to Debir, and its king, as he had done to Hebron and Libnah and their kings. So Joshua won the war against the whole land, the hill country, the Negev, the valleys, the hillside, and all their kings. He left no one alive. He destroyed all who breathed, just as the Lord, the God of Israel, had told him. Joshua killed them from Kadesh Barnea as far as Gaza. He killed them in all the country of Goshen as far as Gibeon. Joshua took all these kings and their lands at the same time, because the Lord, the God of Israel, fought for Israel. Then Joshua and all Israel returned to the tents of at Gilgal, or returned to all the tents at Gilgal.